Great. Good morning and welcome to today's CTE Curriculum Lunch and Learn series for school counselors and CDCs. Today we have Computer Science and Information Technology Curriculum Consultants Brent Curran and Eli Hamrick to speak about their program areas. A reminder that the session is recorded. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll respond to them. I'm going to pass it on, turn off my camera as Eli and Brent speak. And with us also today is Dr. Elizabeth Standifer, Career Development Consultant, Work-Based Learning Consultant. That is my title as well. I'm Amy Policastro-Schrader. And we have Dr. Keisha Bryant, our DPI School Counseling Consultant. Again, this is a program for career development coordinators and school counselors. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, up to you.
All right, thank you, Amy.
All right, folks, happy Tuesday morning. Hope you're doing good. And as Brent said, thanks for the introduction. Like she said, my name's Eli Hamrick, and we have my esteemed colleague.
I'm Brent Curran. I'm one of the other computer science and IT education consultants here at DPI.
Awesome. So we're going to be here today to talk to you about the various pathways and the program area that is computer science and information technology, which has maybe the largest, if not one of the largest, multitude of courses that you may see in it. So some housekeeping. These curriculum program areas, these live sessions earn you 0.1 continuing education units of credit. There's a two-part process to that, and all sessions are recorded, and they are shared out to school counselors as well as shared to our career development coordinators on the Moodle. Here is a link. I do believe Amy is going to put it in the chat for questions and answers. If we don't get to your question today for some reason, or it comes up at a later date, please put it in there and we'll be happy to get back to you as soon as we can. I'll leave that up for just a quick second in case anybody needs it. And you put that in the chat, Amy. Oh, I see it pop up there now. So that link is in the chat. There's also a QR code there. I see your question. I think the next slide, I think, is our check-in link. So we're getting ready to be right there at it. And there it is, our attendance check-in link. So there's the QR code as well as the URL version of it. So I'll leave that up here on the screen for just 30 seconds to a minute or so. Give everybody the chance, and then I'll let Brent take over. I think starting to talk about our program area and everything involved with that. All right, about another 10 seconds, and I'm going to advance on. Okay. And Brent, take it away.
All right, so we are computer science and information technology, and we are currently going through a reorganization with some other program areas within CTE, and we're taking over a program area from academics. So just a little FYI for next year, starting next school year, you'll see branding coming out as computer science, IT, and technology education. That is effective next school year. So what that is that's taking computer science and information technology from CTE, which serves grades 6 through 12, and sometimes grade 5 for career awareness, and technology, engineering, and design education, which is also another CTE program area, which is typically your engineering courses for 6 through 12 in CTE. And we are also taking over the computer science division from DPI, which serves kindergarten through 12th grade. So it's a little bit of an FYI for next year. You'll see some different branding coming out from our office, but anything that says computer science, tech ed, and in the future, computer science, IT, technology, it'll be coming from me or Eli. Currently, we serve 95 courses. Not all of those are state managed. Some of those are some local courses or some subscriptions that individual districts would pay for. But in general, we have one of the bigger program areas that we are serving in our middle grades and our high school. This is anything from coding to robotics, engineering, anything computer science or technology related.
All right.
Go on to the next slide. And we've got CTSOs, Career Technical Student Organizations. There's multiple of these within CTE. I'm sure some of you are familiar with DECA, FBLA, Skills USA, and other CTSOs that exist. The primary one for our program area is going to be the Technology Student Association, or TSA. There's both middle grades and high school competitive events, and there are 77 total events that students around the state can compete in at the local, state, and national level. And these are intracurricular. Very often they're duplicated from the standards we have in our courses. Students in computer science and IT can participate in any CTSO. There are a few computer-related events in Skills USA and FBLA, but for the most part, we are going to push them to go towards TSA because all 77 of those events can be found in any of the courses and pathways that we're going to talk about today. So it's the largest opportunity for those students to compete. All right, and we've pulled up some data from our North Carolina STAR jobs database, and I highlighted a few of the careers. These careers are sorted by the most annual growth. And this data is at this point a little old now. We're using some 2018 data with some projections into 2028. But I've highlighted some of the careers that our pathway covers, from statisticians to information security analysts, software developers, and applications. These are some of the top careers that students in these pathways will have the opportunity to pursue in the future. And if you look at the median annual wage on those, most of those are hitting about 6 figures with a bachelor's degree, whereas some of the other jobs we have up there, you could be a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner and make the same amount, but you would need a master's degree. So students in our program area have a large opportunity to make a very high wage and a high growth position. And I believe this data was collected before we've had Apple planning to build a campus here in North Carolina, Epic Games expanding their office into a full-size campus here in RTP. And we have a bunch of other tech-related industries choosing to build here in North Carolina. So I'm sure if we looked at more recent data, the list would be more related to computer science and information technology.
All right, so now we're going to get into our different pathways and some of the actual courses that y'all interact with and that you advise students on and that you see pop up on schedules. But before we get too much into it, I'm going to stop sharing as Brent is going to take over and kind of show you our public-facing North Carolina CTE course management system.
So let me share my screen. I just posted the link in the chat. Amy's got the link there in the chat for you as well. Share. Okay, so this is the North Carolina CTE course management system, or as we call it, CMS for short. This is where you can find a lot of important information about our courses. As CDCs, I'm sure many of you are aware of this system, and our school counselors may not be aware of this system, as this is something that you could find useful in your day-to-day roles as well. So this is our public-facing website. Anyone can access this. You can share this with parents and other stakeholders, maybe a business and industry committee if they wanted to know some more information. But I'm going to just type in a course here. I don't know. Let's see here. BI12 CompTIA IT Fundamentals. This is one of our courses. So you type in a course, it'll start to fill in a list of courses as you're typing in. And we have these buttons down here that give you a bunch of useful information. So the first one we're going to look at is course information. So on course information, it gives you the same course number and title you just typed in. This will give you a description. This is typically what you see on your registration documents. And we've recently revised a lot of our descriptions. And I believe you'll see those come out next year with the newest descriptions. But you can always find the latest information on the CMS. And this tells you a bunch of information such as, is this a standard course or is this a pilot course? Pilot would be, this is a relatively new course. Standard would be, this is a course that's existed for a few years now. We've gathered a lot of data, and what we have out there is valid and appears to be stable. Course type, we have adopted, adapted, and developed in CTE. We'll also see a fourth option for a local course option, or LCO. So if it's adopted, that means we purchased this curriculum from somewhere, such as Apple, Microsoft, or CompTIA. If it's adapted, we've taken some curriculum from a partner, and then we've revised it or added our own material to make it adapted to North Carolina, to more specifically to the jobs and industry we have in the state. And then if you see developed, that's 100% written by North Carolina teachers. We contract with teachers around the state to write courses. And if you see developed, it's 100% written in-house. That's a 2-year process to get a course started. The fourth option that you might see is local course option, or LCO. And what that means is a district has put in for that course and they've done all of the work to make that course. And it could be something relating to a very small industry that we have in the state that wouldn't apply to the whole state, but a certain district would see fit as their population needing that particular course. So you'll see those 4 options up there. Then we see proof of learning. This is something useful to share with students as they're registering for courses. For proof of learning, you'll see state assessment, performance-based measurement, or credential. So this one here is a credential. And what that means is they're going to earn a credential as their final proof of learning, what used to be called state assessment. So credential is proof of learning. This one, we see they're going to earn the CompTIA IT Fundamentals Plus credential. Typically, these credentials are validated by industry. And what that means is they can get some sort of job, hopefully with that, or it's an entry point into a career. Most of our courses, I don't believe we have any state assessments anymore. We're all credential or performance-based measurement. If you see performance-based measurement, what that means is there's a final project that those students work on. Typically, they work on it throughout the entire semester. And it's a project that checks off certain skills that they've learned throughout the course. And it's a valid proof of learning that they know the knowledge that they could be successful in this pathway and can move on to the next course, or an entry point into some sort of career. We see a whole bunch of other information up here. One thing I like to point out, because our teachers like to point this out to us is we have a recommended maximum enrollment. This is due to technology restrictions or to the amount of one-on-one time that the teacher would have to perform with students taking that course, whether they be working on a credential or a proof of learning or a PBM, performance-based measurement. Teachers do take a lot of one-on-one time with our students in these courses. So we do have a recommended maximum enrollment for those. Again, that's typically for the amount of time that the teacher would have to spend with those students, or it is a technology limitation. I do wish we could put 40 computers in a computer lab, but sometimes that's just not physically possible. The next button we have on the CMS is course standards. And this is essentially, this is what the teachers teach day to day in their courses. This is where their content's coming from. So you can share that with, if you have students moving in and out from a different state, this would be a good resource to look at and kind of compare what courses are from our state to a different state. As sometimes I know we don't always use the same terminology, but that would be a good resource for you to use. And the last one here is career pathways, and this is the main focus of today's presentation, is our CTE pathways. So we want students to be a completer in a pathway or a concentrator. And the reason why is, at the end of the day, the data shows students who complete or concentrate in one of our pathways, they are more than likely going to graduate on time with their cohort. They're more than likely going to obtain a career that earns a higher wage, and they're going to more than likely go into a career straight out of high school or go into the community college or university system. So there's a lot of information on these career pathways, first of which is middle grades exploration. We've chosen to leave this information off of our slides because it's, for the most part,
We have it in there.
we
Brent.
do.
I'm going to talk about it next after you get done talking about the CMS system. I'm going to do a quick overview of it.
Okay. Well, middle grades, this is where our students start in CTE more often than not. In the middle grades levels, these are the courses in computer science that those students would explore careers relating to computer science and information technology. Now, once they've gone through some of these courses in their middle grades, as you all know, it is time for them to go to high school, start registering for classes, which I believe is happening right now across the state. And we'll see foundational prerequisite options and concentrator options, followed by career pathway major options. So a lot of our pathways, you will see a prerequisite and a concentrator. And essentially, these are a two-course sequence. It could be multiple courses, but for the most part, you will see a two-course sequence for our pathways. So in this computer science principles pathway, students would take computer science 1, and they would take AP computer science principles, or BP 42 computer science 2. If they take the options listed here, they are considered a concentrator. Many students want to learn more or have some more skills or more opportunity. And that's this information that we have listed below, where we have supplemental employability skills. These courses would give them more skills for them to be employable. We have supplemental technical skills. These courses give them the skills, a technical foundation to expand their knowledge and what they're learning in this pathway. Then we also have work-based and experiential learning. This is where we have our work-based learning opportunities. And one of my favorite options here is the career pathway major options. And this is where we kind of go into Dr. Elizabeth Standifer's role here, where you can do advanced studies, apprenticeship, internship, a lot of fun things where students really are getting the taste of what a job would look like, or a career would look like while they're in high school. So I'm going to stop sharing so Eli can pull up the slides, and we're going to go, I'm going to start to go into our pathways. And I don't see any questions in the chat. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to put them in the chat. I know Amy shared a form with you. If you share it to the forum, we'll answer it after the session. But Eli, if you're ready to share the slides, I'm ready.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for that, Brent. Like Brent was saying, the CMS system is an incredibly powerful tool. It is public facing, so y'all can have access to it. Parents can have access to it. Students can have access to it. It's a wealth of information about the various courses, not only in computer science and IT, but for all of CTE. So now we're going to kind of get down into what I call the nuts and bolts a little bit. We're going to talk about some specific courses, and as Brent was saying, talk about our pathways. And as he mentioned, the pathways are so important because research over many years has consistently shown that students who are CTE concentrators, who complete that typically 2-course pathway sequence in high schools, have better results. They graduate more on time. Their scores are typically better. It's all around beneficial for them. But what really helps lay a lot of that groundwork and foundation is done in our middle grades, and we cannot forget that, and would be remiss in not mentioning it. So I think I have here all of our middle grades computer science and IT courses. So we have our CY series. CY 01 through 04 is kind of our, I call it informally, our basics at technology, keyboarding, office productivity, and office productivity application, and digital literacies. Starting students off with really just how do we use technology. And then we get into three course sequences that teach a lot of the same material. They introduce students to computer science as a whole and to basic programming concepts. They just do it in various ways. So CY 13, 14, excuse me, there's only 2 of those, not 3, is our Everyone Can Code series. These are meant to be done with Apple. So if you had an iPad lab, if you had a Mac lab, something that runs iOS, this is what you could potentially use. Computer Science Discoveries 1, 2, and 3 utilizes code.org curriculum, and there is training available for teachers to feel more comfortable teaching that material, done through the Friday Institute. And then finally, the last is Coding in Minecraft, Introductory, Intermediate, and Advanced. I like to mention Coding in Minecraft because I think sometimes we see Minecraft as, oh, it's just fun and games. Well, it's taking the world of Minecraft and putting guidance and limitations to really teaching computer science concepts in a fun and engaging way with something students are versed with, they know, which is the game itself and the gaming industry. So these middle grade courses allow students to really begin to dip their toes into computer science and IT and to explore the area. So hopefully they get to the upper grades, they get to high school, and they may have a sense of what they want to pursue, or what pathway, or even potentially pathways they want to do. We do have, I think it's either 10 or 11 pathways total. The first one is the Adobe Academy pathway, and I would say this is probably one of the ones I get the most questions about. It's one of our more popular ones. Students will earn 3 industry credentials, and these are credentials that a lot of us have heard about. So as it currently stands, and in the not next school year, but following that school year 24-25, we'll start seeing maybe some changes to this pathway. But for now, students will take Adobe Visual Design 1. They'll have the chance to earn the Photoshop and Illustrator credentials in that course. And then they will take one of 3 potential course concentrator options. They can either take the second level of visual, they can take digital design, or video design. And each of those is track to a particular credential as the proof of learning, as Brent was talking about. So it's not a 100-question final. They are attempting to get a industry recognized credential. So students leave this one being very versed with the Adobe products and a lot of times having those industry credentials under their belt. If you have any teachers, you can let them know there is going to be some professional development offered at CTE Summer Conference. We actually hope to have a decent amount, a very extensive amount of it. So please encourage them to come out, check us out, Summer Conference, and see what that all is about. All right, next up is Cisco Network Engineering, and this is one of Brent's pathways, so I'm going to let him kind of talk about it.
So Cisco Network Engineering, in this pathway, students have the potential to earn their Cisco certified technician and routing and switching credential. And teachers can receive training through the Cisco Networking Academy, which is based here in Stanley Community College. This is any student who wants to go into networking, anything related to the internet. A lot of good opportunities for this. This is the Cisco branded pathway for networking. There is another networking pathway, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So next, computer engineering. This is another one of my pathways. This one is on one of our CompTIA pathways. Those of you that don't know CompTIA, CompTIA stands for the Computing Technology Industry Association. And what they are is they're a nonprofit trade association that the IT and computing industry has deemed as the association. They take a non-biased viewpoint. So if you learn anything in CompTIA, you're not learning just Apple systems, for example. You might be learning Apple, Microsoft, and Linux. They give you a flexible viewpoint, if you will. So in this pathway, students earn their IT Fundamentals Plus, their A+, Core 1, and Core 2 credentials from CompTIA. Teacher training is offered through CompTIA. And this is one that has a foundational prerequisite. So this is going to be more of a 3-course sequence for them to become a concentrator. Well, they will start out in CompTIA IT Fundamentals. They will learn the fundamentals of what it means to work in an IT help desk. And then they will take I-21 Computer Engineering Technology 1, followed by Computer Engineering Technology 2. Well, they will really learn in depth how to build, maintain, troubleshoot computers. If you will, go on to the next slide.
All right. So this is computer science principles pathway, and I would say this is maybe one of the biggest pathways, if not the biggest, we have in computer science and IT. This is a great pathway if your students are interested in learning about computer science in general, learning about a little bit of data, a little bit about networks, some programming. This pathway was kind of developed around the AP Computer Science Principles course. And it was really just divided up into 2 courses to make computer science not seem so daunting. Those students who maybe get scared away by the AP moniker could still get some exposure to computer science, because we know computer science is really arguably the new international language. So students would start with BP 41, Computer Science 1, which is actually just half of the AP curriculum. And then they would either take BP 42, Computer Science 2, which is the other half, or to be a concentrator, they can then actually take the AP Computer Science Principles 0A, 02 course. So either one is an option. This one does have another AP course in it, I like to point out. Our career pathway major options, as Brent was talking about earlier, that's what's there for students who want to go further. They've become concentrators, but they're really into the area. They want to know more. they could go on to take 2A02, which is AP Computer Science A. So this is the only pathway in the computer science and IT area that has these AP courses in it. And professional development is available for teachers. So there's a lot of teachers who are getting into computer science via this pathway who may have never been in computer science before. They've been in business or they've been in math, and this is what they're doing. And I post that regularly on our Moodles, and we can get that information out about when those trainings are available for those teachers who are going to be teaching any of the courses here in the pathway.
Eli, we have a question in the chat.
Hey, what's the question? I saw it pop up for a minute, but I did not read quick enough, Amy.
The question comes from Carmen. If my specific school doesn't have any or all of the courses listed for a pathway, is there a way for students to access, or is it just based on what my particular school has?
I would say that's a great question, and it's based on what your school has offered. So every CTE department in each public school unit, each PSU, conducts a comprehensive local needs assessment to see what are the needs of the job market in my community. And then in theory, they choose courses and pathways that are setting students up with the skills that are needed in those pathways. For example, I've taught in a very city district when I was in the classroom, and we didn't offer agriculture, for example, because there wasn't really a need for it in my particular area. There's an incredible need for it in the world, of course, but in my area, that's not what the job market was there for. So you may not offer all the courses, you may not offer any of these in some of these pathways. Like Brent said earlier, between middle school and high school, we manage somewhere between 90 to 95 courses. Chances are you're not going to have them all, but you'll probably have the ones to meet 1, 2, 3, maybe even more pathways, just depending on how big your school is. Brent, anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's all correct. It's a conversation you might want to have with the CTE director in your district, because to be quite honest, they just might not have the capacity. There might not be enough staffing to be able to teach all of those courses. And if there is a need and the students want to take those courses, there's a whole bunch of creative options. But it's really a conversation you'd have to have with your CTE director, as there's a lot of moving parts with that.
That's true, and I would say that as well. Reach out. We're here to help. Your CTE directors are there. We want your feedback about what students are interested in and wanting in your particular schools. Next up, and this is, I would say, an up and coming pathway. It's not got a lot in it yet, but this is our data science pathway. We know in this day and age, data equals dollars, and those who control the data get the dollars a lot of times. This, as Brent mentioned, for the CompTIA pathway, this one also has 3 courses. Some of our pathways require a foundational prerequisite to set students up for success with the rest of the pathway. So students would need to take BM20, Microsoft Excel, BM21, Introduction to Data Science, and then BP20, SAS-based programming. And again, this also has a local connection to the state, as SAS is based in Cary, North Carolina, so right in the backyard of RTP area. At the conclusion, students will earn in the foundational prerequisite, will have the opportunity to earn their Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Excel expert certifications. And then at the conclusion of BP20, students can sit for the SAS Certified Specialist Programming Fundamentals using SAS 9.4. And basically that's a certification saying that they are versed in the SAS platform and how to program for data science purposes. And that's a highly sought after credential. I was talking to a teacher one time who had sat for the credential and passed herself. And she told me that she immediately started getting job offers from the industry because it is in such high demand. And the curriculum is free for educators through SAS. They have an online academy with a wealth of resources. Dana Russell, I see the question about who can teach this. Off the top of my head, I would have to look at the license. I would suspect it's probably like a business or what's a BFIT license, business finance information technology, or possibly a technology education license. At this point in time, there is no computer science license for the state of North Carolina. So nobody in the classroom has a computer science education license. They have something else and can teach these. So that does give some flexibility. And I did forget, but it is in here as a career pathway major option. Students could go on to take 2A03 AP Statistics. Yes, I saw the question. Yes, the curriculum is free for educators, and it is really good. And we can do some more digging if you're interested in exactly what licensure it takes. We can pull up some documents and see about that. So this is the data science. This one's, again, not widely taught at this point in time, but I think we're going to see more of it in the years to come. All right, and this one here is Brent, so I'm going to turn it back over to him.
Digital design and animation. When I was in the classroom, this was a pathway I taught myself. Students learn the industry software to create 2D and 3D graphics. They're making 3D models and animating them in this course. Teacher training is offered through a DPI sponsored workshop. We typically have that in the summer. So teachers don't have to miss any days of class to be trained in this, but there's no official required training. We're constantly offering workshops and professional development to help increase the skills for this. And this pathway leads into the game art design pathway, which I think is one of the more popular ones with students. So you'll see a lot of students start in the digital design and animation pathway, but they may not finish this pathway because they're primarily interested in game art and design. So in this pathway, students take digital design and animation 1, followed by digital design and animation 2. And if they do take that second level, they have the opportunity to earn the credential in Autodesk 3ds Max or Autodesk 3ds Maya, depending on what type of, whether you have an Apple lab or a Windows lab in your school. And this follows right into game art and design. Again, this is a popular pathway with students today. Students learn to produce video games using industry recognized game engine software. So they'll typically be using Unity or Unreal Engine. And I would prefer Unreal Engine because that is produced by Epic Games, which is based right here in North Carolina. That is a North Carolina owned company. And they are expanding their office into a full-sized campus in Cary, North Carolina. Again, teacher training is offered through DPI-sponsored workshops that we have over the summer and certain weekends throughout the year. And Epic Games has started a program called the Epic Educator Program, where they will work one-on-one with teachers. I believe this is across the whole country, not just North Carolina. But teachers are working with professionals from Epic Games to learn new skills and new things as they release updates to their software. So in this pathway, students would start with digital design and animation 1, where they can make, they learn the skills to make artwork for their games. Then they will take game art and design, where they will start to implement that stuff into making a game. And then the career pathway major option for this is advanced game art design, where they will try to form a team and kind of run their own game studio inside the classroom, making different levels and demos and stuff throughout their coursework. All right, network administration. This is another pathway that I manage. This is another CompTIA curriculum. Teacher training is offered through CompTIA. Students will earn their Network Plus credential through CompTIA, which is comparable to the Cisco credential. I like to think Cisco is kind of the golden standard in networking and the internet and how things are running. Right now we're on Cisco WebEx, for example. But CompTIA is going to give you a more general networking environment where they can go work for a company that doesn't have Cisco equipment. They might have a third-party brand equipment that they can work on. This is another 2-course sequence. Students take Network Administration 1, followed by Network Administration 2. And at the completion of those 2, that's when they would attempt to earn that Network Plus credential. Network security. Informally, I like to call this one cybersecurity because that's what it's starting to evolve into. So another CompTIA one. Security Plus credential is an entry point into cybersecurity. That is becoming a very in-demand field, up and coming, between North Carolina, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. We're starting to see a lot of interest from our business and industry committees for cybersecurity. It's almost every other day you hear on the news some sort of data breach or cybersecurity issue. This is the reason why we have to have multi-factor authentication when we log into our email and all these other applications we use day to day now. So in this pathway, students will earn that Security Plus credential. They're going to take Network Security 1 and 2 to be a concentrator in this pathway.
All right, so we do have Python programming, and this is a another one of these up and coming pathways is Python. From talking to various industry partners, is kind of the standard operating language. It's probably the most universal one out there currently. And students would take BP 14, Python Programming 1, and BP 16, Python Programming 2. And there's a myriad of resources offered, especially through the Cisco Networking Academy. There's a lot of curriculum, and we can help schools get set up. As Brent said earlier, the Cisco Networking Academy for the state of North Carolina is run through Stanley Community College, and Kelly Cottle is the contact there. If you ever need to, or a teacher needs to, Brent or I can get you in touch with him. And at the end of the pathway, students have the opportunity to earn the industry recognized PCAP Python certification, which shows they have a mastery of the Python language, and it is an incredibly beneficial certification for students to have to put on a resume as they leave, whether they go in straight to the workforce or go in to explore post-secondary opportunities, because it shows that they have really gotten an understanding for that Python programming language. And then I believe this may be our last one. It is. This is Swift development, and I also manage this pathway. This one's focused on the Swift programming language, which is exclusive to the iOS system, so for Apple. So your school would have to have, again, iPads or Macs or something to run the iOS software. And students would take BL52, Develop in Swift Explorations, and BL53, Develop in Swift Fundamentals. And at the conclusion of each of those courses, students have an opportunity to earn a Swift credential, showing that they have studied and researched and practiced and are familiar with the language. Of course, the Swift Fundamentals being more advanced level than the Swift Explorations. So that's another good one if students in particular have an interest in the iOS software and want to work with developing apps for Apple run devices. And that curriculum is free as well. it is offered through Apple themselves. So, once again, I know Amy has put it in there. Brent, somebody said, can you explain the difference between, I think it said network security and computer engineering pathways?
Yeah, so really simple. I'm trying to put it as simple as I can. The computer engineering pathway is more of think of someone who wants to go work at an IT help desk. Someone who is going to be able to troubleshoot, build, maintain some sort of computer systems for a business. Network security is more, let's use the term cybersecurity side of things, where how do we protect our systems, and what flaws do we have in our system? What vulnerabilities do we have? I think that's kind of the simplest way I can put those two pathways. It is nice for students to have both the computer engineering and the network security pathway, but sometimes there's just not the capacity and a schedule for students to have both. So it's just really, what is their preference of what do they want to do when they leave our schools?
Awesome. So here is the Q&A code. If you think of something now and want to put it in, we'll be happy to respond. Amy will get that to Brent and I, and we will respond to you and let you know if you think of something here later on. Please put it in there, and that's why we're here. We're here to help support y'all and help support the work you do with students each and every day. There's the attendance checkout. Oh, I think I saw a question, but then I missed it, so I'm not sure what it said there.
Sorry about that, Eli. This comes in from Rachel. Can you talk a little bit about the cybersecurity courses pathways?
Yeah, so officially it's not cybersecurity, it is network security, and they are on the Security Plus credential in that. I don't know how in depth you want me to go into that. Rachel, if you want, I'll put my email in here. You can send me a little more specific information to your question.
And our emails are here at the end too as well. So there's the attendance checkout, and Amy has put that in. Here's our CTE for NC various social media accounts. If you are on these social medias and you're not yet, consider following us, as there's a lot of great work students are doing across the state of North Carolina, as I know y'all know. And then finally, thanks for taking the time to lunch and learn with us today. Again, I'm Eli Hamrick, and this has been Brent Curran. And if we can ever help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out and email us.
Thank you, Brent and Eli. The recording is going to stop now. Thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn series.